Welcome to the Cycling Esports Show.
This week, we'll be recapping all the action from the latest round of the KISS Super League on Zwift. We'll be getting insight from virtual race guru Greg Leo. He's the pundit on the live broadcasts, by the way. And wait for it, Keira will be doing her first ever virtual race. Keira, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling nervous, I'm feeling excited. There's a lot of emotions going on right now, but we'll see how that goes later in the show. First of all, let's catch up with what's been happening this week in the KISS Super League.
New York welcomed the riders for round 7 of the men's KISS Super League, 2 laps of the mighty Metropolitan Circuit with a couple of viciously steep punchy climbs thrown in. The riders stayed together until the first go up the brutal reverse KOM, with Ollie Jones of the Zwift Academy Dream Team and Dan Bigham of Team Ribble going big, hitting the summit first. Bigham laying an ominous marker down to his rivals. As the lead group of 15 riders hit the second and final lap, the unrelenting pace eased and a renewed sense of calm fell upon proceedings. Not for long though, Bigham, Bibby and West broke free with 8 kilometers to go but were quickly reeled back in. There were now just 12 riders left out front. With 2.5k left, Ryan Christensen of Canyon DHB attacked, but it couldn't stick and a group of 9 headed into the final sprint. Bigham unleashed his aero power up and looked good for the win with Jones hot on his heels, only for Bigham to take it on the line in a dramatic photo finish. The result moves Team Ribble closer to the All-Stars in third, but it's as you were with Madison Genesis in first and the Dream Team in second. New York City was the venue for round 3 of the Women's KISS Super League. 3 laps of Gotham Grind reverse, the figure of 8 loop around Central Park, with the Zwift All-Stars 7 points ahead of Show Air 2020 in the overall standings. After 10 kilometers, a lead group of around 20 riders formed. The deceptively punishing kickers of Central Park soon started to take their toll as the pack started to split with 17 kilometers raced, but riders were finding it difficult to get away nevertheless. Erith would drop off at the 19k mark after claiming all the sprint points on offer. As they started the final lap, the lead group had whittled down to 13 riders. With 6 kilometers left to race, it was Amanda Coker of Show Air 2020 who attacked off the front, and the break managed to briefly stick before being chased down by Britt Mason from the All-Stars, with the group soon reforming. As expected, it was heading to a bunch sprint to finish, with many an aero power-up being held in reserve, but it was Louise Huback and Mason of the All-Stars who went big, with Britt Mason topping 14 watts per kilogram to take a well-earned win. Round 7, KISS Super League winner. Hell of a race, I have to say. Talk us through it.
Yeah, a bit of a short warm-up for me. I'd just come back from the track. We've been doing a lot of aero testing today, so I was a bit fatigued, but thought, you know what, just go full gas to the climb and see what happens. I'd ridden a similar course at the Community League a few weeks ago, so I was reasonably well prepared, knew what to expect, and it was just going to be pretty full gas at that climb. We just recovered as well as I can between that, and yeah, I seem to be in a good place right now, so I was quite enjoying it, really.
I mean, some of the attacks on the climbs were ferocious. I mean, how do you maintain that sort of power?
I think I'm a bit lucky. I've just come straight off the track in real good form and prepped for the Worlds and not been selected. So after 10 days of road camp, I'm actually in a really good state and annoyingly got some great form with no races to use it for. So yeah, today was a nice opportunity to test the legs and really give it some beans.
So, Britt, round 3 of the Women's KISS Super League yesterday. A super impressive win for yourself. Talk us through it.
Well, double draft was on, of course, again. So we knew it was going to be flat and fast, a lot of power. We were on DS, so we were all on Discord together, so we were chatting a little bit, but we thought maybe we could make an attack, but at the same time, we'd seen the men's race already go off on that course and had an idea that most of the attacks would probably get swallowed up. So that ended up happening every single time. So we kind of laid in wait, tried to conserve some energy. And Amanda Coker went off the front towards the end of the race. And we were watching. I got nervous, and I ended up going and bridging to her. And then that ended that attack. Everybody else came with us. And we kind of settled back in and waited for the sprint. And my team did really well. And we were able to go off the front and get first and second, which is great for the points.
So that was this week's action. Earlier in the week, Ollie caught up with KISS Super League's virtual racing expert, Greg Leo, to get his take on things.
First up, Greg, I wanted to talk about Zwift have made an update, haven't they, this week, which means that racers can no longer collect a power-up and bring it into the start pen before the start of a race. What do you think about that?
It's kind of like it's the biggest thing to happen to racing, gosh, in a long time, and it happened quietly. This changes everything. I mean, it adds such a huge element of chance to the game, to racing. We've already seen it play out. Ian Bibby and Alex West did not have aero power-ups at the end of the latest KISS Super League, and they weren't able to take the sprint despite having excellent power numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I think for most casual viewers, they wouldn't have known that was a tactic that a lot of the racers were employing.
Yeah, hoard the helmet has been kind of the mantra of the Zwift specialist for a long time. You bring an aero power up into the pens, you hang on to it unless you absolutely need it, and you use it in the last 30 seconds of the race. I mean, that is the tactic for power-ups for the last 3 years of Zwift racing, and now things have changed dramatically. Although, I mean, really, it's the same tactic is still there. If you get an aero power-up, hang on to it until the end.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that kind of played out again this week, didn't it? So we had round 3 of the women's race first up. It kind of came down to a bunch sprint as expected, and you had Britt Mason. Britt Mason used her aero power up quite early, actually.
Yeah, it was actually Eklund who started that sprint from almost a kilometer out with her aero power up. Actually, maybe more like 2/3 of a kilometer out, and then Hobach and Mason from the All Stars used theirs and kind of sat in behind her, got that gap, and then never gave it up. So the 3 of them, 1, 2, 3 in the sprint, were the ones with the power up in the end, with the aero power up. And Britt Mason, one of the strongest sprinters on Zwift, knows exactly how to use that thing, knows when to use it and how to use it. And they dominated because of both getting the power up and knowing how to use it and when to use it correctly.
Yeah, for sure. So round 7 of the men's this week, they went to New York, Mighty Metropolitan. If anyone's raced it out there, I mean, those climbs just blow your legs off, don't they?
I was looking at the numbers on that course, and really what it came down to in the end, to finish in that front group, you had to be able to put out 7.1 or 7.2 plus watts per kilogram for 2 minutes to finish in that front group. I mean, if you look at the people, the dozen who finished in the front group versus those who were off the back during those climbs, I mean, the difference was really that 2-minute power. If you weren't able to put out 7.2, you weren't finishing with that front group, and that is absolutely elite power. And in fact, the guys who were pushing the pace up that thing, Ollie Jones, Alex West, and probably Ian Bibby as well, as well as Dan Bigham, they were putting out almost 8 watts per kilogram for 2 minutes, which is just insane.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Bigham is obviously a track specialist, and
that's kind of his specialty distance, and power output there. So that actually was perfect for him, and he did. I think he took the KOM competition. He finished second up on the first climb, second to Ollie, and then absolutely dominated the second climb up that thing.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, if there's one thing we have seen though this season, it is how difficult it is to get away when you're out on your own.
I think the ability to get away and stay away depends on the drafting algorithm, depends on the dynamics of the group, depends on the competitiveness of the group and everything. So, we see it a little bit more in the women's race, these smaller groups getting away and staying away. And, I think we might see it a little more there depending on the courses that we see in the next couple of weeks in the women's race. But I guess we'll see if it can happen again.
Okay, now time for Keira to get her hands dirty as she races on Zwift for the very first time. By the way, if you didn't know, Keira is basically a pro already, so we're expecting big things from her. Over to you, Keira.
So here I am, ready to embark on my first ever Zwift race. I've got my smart trainer set up. I've opted for a smart trainer, although you can use a classic indoor trainer because it means that Zwift isn't going to estimate my power, called Z power, based on my cadence and speed. It's going to give me my actual numbers. And also Z power isn't allowed by some race organisers. Number 2, I've got my heart rate monitor on. I choose Garmin heart rate monitor, but I mean, other brands are available. Number 3, I went over to zwiftpower.com and I set up an account there. And zwiftpower.com is actually where you can find all the race results for any Zwift race that's happening. Ollie tells me it's quite addictive as well, so I'm a little bit apprehensive of that. Then what I did is I chose my race. I have entered the category based on my watts per kilo rating. That's your average hour power, FTP, divided by your weight. And then you've got to show up on the time that your race is and get going. So that's what I'll be doing now. So I'm not probably in the best mood to advocate this sort of torture right now. But yeah, that was, let me get my breath back. That was a lot harder than I expected. I mean, it's so hard because you've got to try and stay in the group. You have to ride a lot over what you're comfortable to then save the energy. So it's not quite as easy as a normal bike race. Oh, there's no sitting in. Well, I actually thought I was going to be sick at the end there. I had to just compose myself for a minute. Honestly, 30 watts now feels like 3 million.
There you have it. Nice job, Keira. I think she's probably still recovering. Okay, next week we'll bring you all the action from round 8 of the men's league and round 4 of the women's. Until then, goodbye.